Police, if you're down here, make yourself known.
What would you do if the people you most trusted turned out to be keeping a dark and dangerous secret? Utah is a peaceful community where everyone knows their neighbors and life seems picture perfect. But behind the locked walls of one apparently typical house, a horrific story was evolving. Born in Seattle, Washington on January 7, 1980, Michael Haight's family moved to Cedar City, Utah when his father's dentistry school closed early on. Michael was a regular young lad growing up who loved basketball, baseball, and soccer. He came in as Eagle Scout and did really well in school. Michael worked in an Alaska fish facility over summer after graduating from high school in 1998. He became line manager fast, supervising more than a dozen individuals. His diligence and commitment were noted, which resulted in a promotion. As a member of the church, Michael set out a mission trip to South Brazil. This encounter enhanced his dedication to his religious group and reinforced his faith. Michael studied business at Southern Utah University when he returned to the United States. He graduated in 2004. Michael met Tasha Earl, his future wife, at Southern Utah University. On May 10th, they married at the St. George Temple after falling in love. 2003 Michael seemed to be the model of a committed spouse and parent to strangers. He saw his kids' school concerts, coached their sports teams, and spent time sledding and working in the garage with them. On January 4th, 2023, nevertheless, the facade Michael had erected around his family broke down that day. We have arrived at the point where things get crazy. To access more of our real crime tales, kindly subscribe, like, comment, and share the video. The Haight house turned out 8 dead, shocking and confusing both neighbors and detectives. Tasha Haight missed an online appointment early that morning, and Michael, her husband, skipped reporting for work. Growing worried, their co-workers called the police to conduct a welfare check at the Haight house in Enoch. Officials showed up to the Haight house. Still, they got no response upon knocking. The police noted as they strolled about the premises that nobody seemed to be home. Knowing that the Haight's had a total of 5 kids, the police checked the Iron County School District to see if any of the kids were in attendance that day. When the police showed up to the Haight's, it was found, however, that none of the children were home. They cleared the grounds to make sure no imminent risk existed. Following extensive investigation, they verified that no one required medical treatment and that no evidence of an active danger could be found. Living in a one-story house with a basement was how the Haight's lived. Shortly after the house was designated a crime scene before approaching the main bedroom, police arrived on the scene. The 4-year-old Gavin was resting flat on his stomach, the investigators observed, with his head tilted left. One of his arms rested beneath his head on a cozy cushion, while a sheet covered part of his body. Like Gavin, Tasha had barely half coverage from the blanket. On the opposite side of the bed, the cops came into an elderly lady. She was later discovered out it was Tasha's mother, Gail, who was laying on her back, her head rested on a cushion. Similar to her daughter and grandchild, Gail had some coverage from a blanket. The 12-year-old daughter was resting in bed when the cops entered Briley's room while still searching the Haight's house. She was tilted slightly and covered in part with a blanket. The cops found a 7-year-old child laying face down in the men's room corner. He lacked a blanket or cushion covering him, unlike his brothers. Found in her bedroom, Sienna, Amon's twin sister, was laying on her left side in bed with her head resting on a pillow also wrapped in a blanket. The oldest of the Haight's, Macy, her body was covered by the blanket and her head rested on a cushion on a 17-year-old bed. The police subsequently discovered Michael Haight in the basement workout area of the house. He was laying on a sleeping bag. Every one of the 8 deceased victims had a gunshot wound. Not long after, the police came to the conclusion that Michael Haight, the main suspect, is here. They believed he murdered 5 children, his wife, mother-in-law, and then himself. One neighbor gave vital information that let the police put the crime's chronology together as they started their investigation. The next-door neighbor informed the cops she had awakened up at 3:30 a.m. to use the restroom. She heard a big boom outside her room, like flames or fireworks. She became irate, however, when she soon discovered that the legal period for fireworks permission in the area had passed. The neighbor went on, saying she heard 2 in fast succession after the first explosion. There was a little silence, after which another blast occurred. That rhythm carried on with a little pause before the following blast. and a lengthier stop before a last one. The police deduced from the neighbor's account and the state of the 8 corpses discovered inside the home that the bang she had heard about 3:30 a.m. was connected to the events that night. They thought Michael had committed the terrible murders during the designated period of inquiry into the Haight. Only murders investigators discovered that in 2020 an unidentified non-family member had told the Utah Division of the Child and Family Service about abuse. This person claimed that Macy, then 14 years old, confided in them about her dread of her father. That discovery set forth more research on the Haight home. Macy and her parents separately were questioned after they received the DCFS report. The chat with Macy revealed unsettling facts. Macy said that sometimes her father strangled her, and she worried he may kill her. She said that the violent assault started in 2017 and mentioned a moment when her father gripped her by the shoulders, then shoved her into an oak furniture piece. Michael Haight refused to ever have harmed his daughter. When the investigators questioned him, he blamed his emotional condition on the loss of his father and the recent separation of his brother, therefore discounting the events Macy reported as misunderstandings. Michael said he had been annoyed about these problems and directed his anger at his elder daughter. The Utah Agency for Children and Family Services, the Enoch Police Department, and the Iron County Prosecutor's Office all turned down Tasha's requests to have criminal charges applied against Michael. They had decided the case fell short of the statutory criteria for a prosecution. Tasha also underwent the lethality evaluation, and based on her reply, it did not show any fatal link with Michael. Still, Tasha and the kids had victim services for a few months after the case opening. Tasha's pals let the investigators see Michael Haight from a different angle than the one presented to the society by means of their interactions. They often had to strike conversation while the water was running in the kitchen to disguise any noise if they dropped by the home to visit. Tasha thought Michael was listening in on her chats. Every time they visited, these buddies also helped Tasha clean the home. Michael would have nothing to rant about. Tasha's pals said they texted her anytime. She would reply with brief but upbeat comments, apparently aware of Michael's likelihood of seeing these letters. They thought this would help them keep a good impression of themselves to Michael by implying that their marriage was running without problems. According to the investigators assigned to the case, Michael showed excessively controlling conduct directed against his wife, Tasha. Michael took her phone and vehicle keys to stop Tasha from leaving, therefore exerting control over her. Michael's response to Tasha buying a $30 mat from Target to replace a dirty one further drew suspicion about him. Tasha had a real need for the mats, but Michael was enraged and said the cost was excessive. Natasha told her friends her 7-year-old son Amon was copying his father Michael's terrible conduct more and more. Damon answered whenever Tasha instructed him to do anything, "That is not my responsibility." For Tasha, this conduct was alarming as it mirrored Amon's lack of accountability and disrespect of authority Michael often discounted. Ignored Toshi's directions, Iman appeared to follow suit. Toshi's pals claim that Tasha dared enjoy a little act of self-care in 2022. Despite the weight of her obligations, she decided to have her nails done, a somewhat unusual thing for her. But her husband Michael forbade it, therefore imposing rigorous limitations on our liberties. Tasha felt beautiful and confident again after her indulgence. Michael disagreed with her when she informed him she would be having her nails done once a month. Furious over his wife's choice, Michael voiced his criticism and questioned the expense of this new behavior. Tasha gently reassured Michael that keeping this self-care routine costs $25 a month, therefore allaying his worries. Michael remained dubious, however, claiming that Tasha was eating food from their kids' mouths with money spent on her nails. His viewpoint sprang from control and a strong sense of financial obligation for their family. About the same time, Tasha started giving her own health first priority and started losing fat after years of her spouse labeling her obese ugly. That she was losing weight infuriated Michael. Seeking to explain the abrupt change in Tasha's looks, he accused her of cheating on him. As Michael tried to regulate Tasha's weight reduction, his obsessive actions peaked. Concerned that other men would see her with longing thoughts, he begged her to stop dropping weight. Deep-rooted fears and a need for complete authority over his wife's body and actions abound. Tasha's pals also informed the police about when the family kitchen table suddenly cracked and Tasha had to replace it. Michael, however, turned against giving her the cash to purchase one. Tasha opted to handle things personally as she was annoyed by the circumstances. She decided to give the old table new shields, looking to make its look and use better. Michael, on the other hand, did not approve of this act of rebellion as he did not allow her to behave so. Michael Haight was frugal with his Christmas season expenditure. For every one of their 5 children, he gave Tasha only $100 despite his substantial salary to purchase gifts. Tasha always celebrated Christmas with her kids with great satisfaction. Still, Michael made a good salary working for Allstate. He declined, nevertheless, to give his wife and kids more money. His justification was that he saw no necessity for giving them more of what he felt to be rightly his. Michael's fixation on resource conservation and waste reduction drove him to set rigorous home rules for Tasha. Plastic bags, even ones used once or many times, needed to be cleaned out and recycled. Township felt overburdened by this too high demand for reused bags, which also put extra obligations on her. Michael also wanted to run every element of Tasha's life, including her baby care and housekeeping schedules. He demanded the baby wipes and cleaning supplies, arguing it was more affordable and environmentally friendly. But this need made Tasha less comfortable and hygienic, which led to needless worry. Tasha risked major repercussions if she deviated from Michael's direction. He made it quite evident that disobedience would bring her a lot of problems. This danger for you to perceive in Tasha a feeling of terror and subservation. She was left with no option than to follow Nichols' orders. Tasha's acquaintances said she revealed in them that while Michael had been rude to her in another marriage, he had never mistreated their children until the late 2000 decade. Michael had rather high hopes for his child Macy. She should always get straight A's, he anticipated. Macy was already suffering with the burden of her father's abuse, but the strain to live up to his unreasonable expectations proven to be intolerable for her. The investigators came onto another occurrence when 7-year-old Briley was not stopping while playing with a changing table. Michael spoke with her. Michael started blaming his partner Tasha for the conduct of his children after this occurrence. He has dubbed them as the most rude and terrible youngsters on the planet, all in front of their 5 kids. Michael not only chastised Tasha but also called her unattractive and overweight. Tasha opted to follow an evacuation plan throughout this upsetting event. Ask Michael for a divorce after 20 years of marriage. For Tasha, the episode, which highlighted Michael's violent actions and lack of control over his rage, acted as a wake-up call. She understood she had to remain in the marriage as her children were suffering from this conduct. Tasha found divorce to be challenging. She put in more than 2 decades. But Michael understood that the well and safety of her children came first than any marriage tie. Tasha sought for divorce from Michael on December 21, 2022. She wanted one final typical Christmas for her 5 kids before the divorce, so she had the divorce paperwork sent after the holidays. She realized that after Michael got the documents, his conduct would probably become more aggressive, so she avoided the holiday celebration. Tarnished for everyone, 2 days after Christmas, the divorce papers were handed to Michael's Allstate office. Michael Cole Tasha is behaving rather normal, asking her about what happened yesterday as if she hadn't handed him divorce papers just minutes ago, despite his previous behavior. He demanded Tasha leave the children behind even if she was advised to do so. But Tasha maintained her ground, wouldn't leave the home without them. Michael insisted, but Tasha opted to bring the kids to her mother's Laverne, Utah house. For more gripping tales like this one that will keep you on the edge of your seat, subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay updated. Michael came up to his mother-in-law's place later that evening trying to persuade Tasha to ride with him. Tasha declined, however, and told her pals she felt uneasy about going anywhere with Michael alone. Gail Earle, Tasha's mother, moved in to help Tasha and the kids after her divorce filing. But Michael's behavior throughout this period made things worse even. Michael stayed at the family house, not leaving. Rather, he decided to settle into the basement with the exercise area. He slept in this room on a sleeping bag on the floor surrounded by a cushion. Tasha told her friends that she had seen a disparity in their kids' saving accounts, which included $20,000, while her clothing were hanging on in hangers stacked on a sofa outside the door. She learned Michael had surreptitiously moved the money on these accounts without her permission or knowledge. Tasha also acquired various weapons from her father upon his passing. include handguns and hunting rifles. Tasha found all the weapons vanished from her residence in the beginning of January 2023. Michael had taken the firearms, leaving Tasha and her family defenseless in case of an emergency, according to further inquiry. Macy, the eldest child of Michael and Tasha, had told numerous of her acquaintances she embraced her parents' divorce. Macy told me there would be calm in the house without her father Michael. She craved the peace a divorce would provide. Moreover, Macy concealed in her room her hidden phone. One of her pals claims Macy recorded her father acting nuts on this phone. She disclosed in this pal that she was doing this along data confirming her parents' divorce. Tasha discovered the phone, however, and buried it. Briley, Macy's younger sister, also had a turbulent household life. Briley often sought cover at her neighbor's house from the ongoing tension at home. Briley sought comfort among her neighbor's grandkids, who were of a similar age. Briley told a friend she was glad her parents were divorcing. She even discussed buying some new books, but she held back from informing her father out of concern that he would get angry with her. Tasha saw her attorney on January 3, 2023 to go over her continuous worries about her divorce from Michael, her violent spouse. Tasha told Michael during their talk that she was happy he had lately moved to the basement even though he was still living in the family house. Michael's erratic conduct led the lawyers to ask Tasha if she ever gave her or her children any thought about their safety. Tasha reassured Michael's lawyers that she never worried about the welfare of her or her children, despite occasional outbursts. Looking back, Tasha's husband's fatally mistaken hope and optimism, as well as her own, clearly show is put the search into the Haight family murder was a horrific trip for police investigators as they assembled the horrific series of events leading to the terrible finding. Sound created the digital data gathered from the family computers and mobile phones. On December 5th, 1 year before the fatal incident, at 10:40 Michael searched unsettling Google terms. 1:30 p.m. Michael asked questions about weapons and shooting-related subjects. Search's other research presented a horrific picture of Michael's ambitions. The search results turned up concerning queries such how loud a 9mm pistol fire is. Describe the sound of a gunshot. I heard gunshots close by my home. What should I do? Would you be able to identify a single gunshot you heard in your area late at night? As could you choose to be informed sufficient to notify the police? A shot made in the home is how loud? Would a neighbor heard a shot being fired in the garage? A 40mm pistol is how loud? Michael claimed in the message he wrote before he died he wanted to burn in hell. Michael said he could not bear the circumstances for another day and was resolved to stop the control and coercion that he had been under. He characterized as dominating conduct by his wife. Michael's message conveyed much desperation and fury. He said he asked for assistance often, but nobody seemed to pay attention. Michael underlined in this message his will to avoid being a burden for society. The specifics of this case have shocked many people and is shown severely dysfunctionally affected by violence. Michael deliberately and prepared his acts. He meticulously scheduled the killings to make sure his wife and kids knew nothing, until it was much too late. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.